Matty Fresh on the track up at State. And I'm bringing to you live my boys Alec and Nate, Tequila Ty, Jay, Nelly, and Zillin in the building. So kick it back, pour the drink. We chillin' because I'm boozing and betting and ballin' like I'm 2-6. And the blue kicks, watch me move quick. Yeah, this the blueprint. So who's getting involved? Welcome into the show. This is Booze, Bets, and Ball, baby.
Anything go on this week that we need to talk about?
In what context? Lots of things happened.
Anything in particular?
President Trump solved the Gaza-Israel crisis.
Oh, right. That's why we do this. Forgot. Yeah. So when I did that self rant a couple weeks ago, I kind of was talking about that. Maybe it's time to try something new. I didn't think Pat Kraft was listening, and I didn't think he was going to do it within 2 weeks. But here we are. Jim Franklin's out.
You did a great job with that. I thought that, like, for a solo, that was very entertaining, and I think your points were pretty spot on. And I think that, like you said, I mean, whether or not Pat Kraft was listening, I do think that there was a ton of that sentiment in the fan base, and it was pretty obvious what had to happen. So.
Yeah, and I waited till a little later in the week to do this. Obviously, Franklin gets fired Sunday afternoon. We do this Wednesday night, probably come out late Wednesday or early Thursday, but wanted to kind of step back a little bit. I was pretty fired up the last couple of weeks with Franklin. It was pretty clear that he resorted back to his old ways after the Oregon loss. Did not prepare the team for the game after the loss, and then did not prepare the team again for the loss after the loss. What I'm going to try to do here is connect dots, because I think a lot of people are confused in just saying, how could this be 3-3? And, you're going to fire this guy that's been here for what was going to be year 12, had you a play away from the national championship game last year, has 5, 10 plus win seasons. How could you do this? I guess 6 win season, whatever. And the point is, this is a lot more than this last 3 weeks. And Pat Kraft mentioned that in his presser on, what day did they have that? Monday.
Yeah.
That this was more than 3 weeks. And I'm glad that BWI brought that article out this afternoon, because I don't have to really out a source in saying this now, that Franklin asked for a contract extension over the summer, didn't get it. Then he tried to go above Kraft to the president and still didn't get it. And I think what the alignment that I spoke about in the podcast a couple weeks ago was there. It was just they were aligned against Franklin in a sense, where, like, no, we're not doing this until we see an improvement on the field in terms of winning the big game and winning the Big Ten, winning the national championship, which, they won one Big Ten, and the last time they really won a big game was also in 2016. And I guess Franklin was kind of like, all right, bet. And then he lost to Oregon. And then he was like, all right, bet, they were right. I'm done. And I just saw quit. Like, I don't know what else to say. Other than, and I know, look, the Tony Rojas thing in the middle of that week did not help anything. And now, I don't know if Drew Aller being out for the year made this decision easier on Pat Kraft, where it's like, I'm not even trying to salvage 9-3 and be the first 9-3 team to make the playoff. Like, I think that injury made this a little easier of a decision, to where it was just like, okay, yeah, like, we're not going anywhere, obviously, this year anyway. Let's just pull this off now. But I just saw him not caring and them not being prepared. Like, I know Tony Rojas's injury happened in the middle of the week, but what UCLA did to them on offense, like, it's kind of like they were just kind of like Tony Rojas was still there in a sense. Like, they did not game plan really for without Tony Rojas, and it showed the way UCLA was able to use the quarterback scramble in so many key situations in that game. And then to me, it was just quite evident by the Northwestern game that Franklin was out. And there's a couple things that come to mind. Still playing Liam Clifford, who we love the Cliffords on this show, but still playing him and then dialing up the trick plays to Liam Clifford. Insane. After all the talk about Kobe Howard and Tyseer Denmark, needing more playing time if we're going to, try to experiment with some stuff because these older receivers weren't really clicking. Instead of doing that, he doubles down on these old receivers and gives them trick plays. And then we have a 1-score game, and he has a dude that looks like Cornwall back there returning a kick when there's 6 former 4- or 5-star running backs on this roster not getting playing time at all with insane athletic ability who could have done something for you there. But the John Kuhn looking fullback was back there returning the kick. And it just was clear that like he was almost screwing with us. Like, I don't know how else to put this, but when you look at everything that's happened, like I'm not shocked this happened. I'm not really shocked he quit because I think he finally realized like, shit, maybe they're right. I can't win the big game. Let's just all start over. And that's what happened. I see people like, oh, the fans ran him out of town. This is on the people that were booing him. They broke him. He's the no, this was all him. I ridiculous. Some of the stuff I heard this week.
Said a mouthful there, I guess. But
I know. I knew I wasn't going to stop.
Many points to be made. Now, it is okay. So a couple of things I think that I agree with you very much around the concept of the Oregon game. Like, obviously set this trajectory forward in terms of him starting to spiral, and like he kind of knew it was going to happen. In our very sophisticated group chat, there was a lot of people predicting that, traveling to the West Coast against UCLA, that we were going to lose, and we lost. It was 27-7. Like, and in that game, like, what the hell? Yeah. UCLA, I think, like there was the graphic at the beginning of the week that they hadn't led all year, right? And you just, you knew. And then the following week, the Northwestern game, again, they got down, and you just knew it was going to happen. And then, oh man, he just could not break out of it. And I think that Friday night, I went out with some of my friends. My one friend's an Iowa fan, and I told him that I was going to be rooting for Iowa because by that time it was the writing was on the wall that Franklin was done, but I did not think they would have the wherewithal to move on him this quickly. But I was hoping for them to frankly continue to spiral so that they could get it done as fast as possible. And then Sunday rolls around, and it happened. We were on our way to Brenham, Texas, and I got the text. I told somebody from my dad. I got the text from my dad, who I don't really text that often, and it just said, "Thank God," and I knew what had happened. Right, so like, he is a victim both of his own success and somewhat his own hubris too. And I think that the success comes obviously from that one play and that one game in 2016 that took them from him almost getting fired if they'd lost to Minnesota in the overtime game when Saquon had the touchdown, to then Grant Haley will score game. And that elevated them from like where they were in 2014 and 2015 to the heights that they achieved, but then could never get past that. Right. And I think, you see a lot of things where people say, oh, well, this, the downfall of this started in 2017 in Ohio State. And like, I kind of don't buy that, because that was 8 years ago, and, he still had many more opportunities. And like,
and he was also 11-11 at one point too. And they still didn't fire.
Yeah. Right. But I don't think that, I don't know. I don't think that one game in Ohio State where they should have won, or the next year in Ohio State when they should have won, or what's another game? Minnesota in 2019, probably they should have won. Like, it wasn't one, but it was the narrative that just got built and built and built. And then this year, because of the expectations coming out of last year and how much he talked them up this year, It was beat Oregon or literally bust, and they literally busted, right? It was kind of an all-in thing. When you, as the CEO, coach, or whatever, go out there and talk about how great you are and this is the best team you've had, and you get handed everything that you want, from the most expensive defensive coordinator in the country to your handpicked offensive coordinator to all of these guys coming back who, some of them, whether it was Drew or Nick Katron, could have made a lot of money last year coming out, and they came back for this and it imploded badly for whatever reason. And as soon as as soon as the overtime, that interception at Oregon happened, this is the only result that could have come of this.
Yeah, and with all the pressure that was on this team, with all the guys that came back and how much money they spent on Knowles and them retaining Kotelnicki, he had to come through, and he didn't. And I think Kraft kind of had enough. And from the understanding is this was just Kraft who made the decision as the athletic director. He can, but this was not run by the board of trustees or anyone else. He made the decision Saturday night, which I had heard, and then slept on it and still felt the same way. And it's just like, I think Franklin knew when he was walking off the field that was it too. They had to be having conversations, and it's clear they weren't going in the right direction. But, for him to ask for more money and an extension before this season with this, great roster and coaching staff, I think it was wise for the school to be like, let's see what you do with what we gave you. We gave you the best, now it doesn't look like the best, but going into the season, this was, the best coordinator tandem in the country, and at least paid that way. This was one of the most experienced teams in the country and paid that way, by the way. And, let's see if you do it with this one before we decide to go on. Because if you don't do it this time, are we ever going to do it? And do I want to keep you around longer and for more money? And they made the right decision. And instead of him meeting the moment and being like, okay, I'll show you, this is what we got. So I just think, all this stuff with the national media saying this is so short-sighted, like they're oh my gosh, you just lost 3 games, like think about everything that's happened. Yeah, like I think we are thinking about everything that's happened with this, and the point was it's not going to get any better. And I made this point on the last one, like there is like a purgatory type feeling to what was going on here, where it wasn't getting any better. And it wasn't getting any worse. Well, that's out the window the last 2 weeks because it has gotten worse. Like at one point, you just try something new for the sake of trying it, because in this new era of college football, you can get a new roster in here in 30 days, and rebuilds aren't as long, and coaches bounce around like crazy anyway. So if it doesn't work, you could find a new one in 2 or 3 years. So I think that Kraft was comfortable flipping the coin of it could get better or it could get worse. And I think the timing was right. I think it also helps that right now this could change a little bit, you are the best job available. There were past off seasons where there were equal or sometimes better jobs out there. You got ahead of this early. You get to start talking to everyone's agents first. Florida has not pulled the plug on their situation yet. Auburn has not pulled the plug yet. Wisconsin is not an equal to you, but they haven't pulled it yet either. I don't know why. Like people have mentioned Oklahoma opening up. I don't think that's going to happen. Alabama, like maybe could open up. We'll see. But
Alabama's going to the playoff. Alabama's might win the SEC now. I mean, they look good.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that got brought up. I don't know. Like people are just
Oklahoma I can see. I mean, they kind of got killed this week, and there was some stat about Venables. Like okay, so we have had this conversation. After losing to Ohio State every year for the last 7 or 8 years, again, we have this conversation about, well, do you fire him? And as the athletic director, whose job it is to, on one hand, like maximize the output of the football team, but it's not just the football team winning a national championship. I think it is them being in contention, them being in a national name. There was some stability to Franklin. You always knew what you were going to get because you're going to, not maybe, but you could bet on losing to Ohio State or losing to games that you're an underdog, but winning every other game. And like I said, that really went out the window this year. So now it's not anymore that stability, right? Like you were 20-point favorite at home.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's not like UCLA. Northwestern was hovering 500, and I guess they are 500 now. UCLA was considered the worst team in college football, at least at a Power 4 level. And Northwestern was nothing special. I guess they're 4-2 now. What were they? 3-2? I don't know what they were, but it doesn't matter. Like, they weren't ranked. You were still a 3-touchdown favorite. Like, these are not losses to teams that were ranked 23rd or a 500, like a 5-5 team or something. Like, these teams stink. And you got embarrassed twice.
Yeah. Northwestern beat LSU, or I'm sorry, they beat UCLA, they beat Louisiana Monroe and Western Illinois.
Right. So it's not even good wins.
Yeah. Oregon, right? And then they beat Penn State, obviously, too, which we'll see if that's a good win or not. But so yeah, like if they had kept him, we weren't going to make a bowl. I mean, that was almost a guarantee.
Yeah.
Right. And then you lose. Then I think too, let's say, I don't know, just say they went 5-7 or 4-8 or whatever, and he sticks around. Does he have the cachet to rebuild a roster, or is there an exodus from this team? Because again, not playing some of the young guys, Tyseer Denmark, Kobe Howard, some of the Chaz Coleman on defense, maybe not getting as much run as you want. There's got like Chris B from the Obligatory talks about how we have like linebacker rooms stacked with 4 and 5 stars. None of them can play apparently, but that doesn't get better if they go 4-8 and he's the coach next year. Now maybe you go 7-5 or 6-6 or 8-4, even God willing, or something like that. And you see what these young guys have, and you figure out who can come back and actually do something next year. And maybe they want to come back because you have a new coach that, is a fresh start. I think there's, like, on both sides of this equation, both for Penn State and for James Franklin, there is a lot of benefit to starting over. And for the longevity of this, whether or not, and we can talk about who coaching prospects are, but whether or not, the next coach immediately wins, the next coach will immediately bring more energy, enthusiasm, and optimism into the room than we would have had with Franklin going into next year. That is a guarantee.
Yeah, and I want to make a point on Terry Smith and playing the young guys. But first, kind of what you said, like if you let him finish out the year and it's 4-8, 5-7, he knows he's not getting that extension then. And I know like his stock would technically be down after this bad of a year, but he would point it at, I lost my best defensive player. I lost my best offensive player. And what he would do is he'd go get a job because he knew he wasn't getting the extension here. He'd go somewhere else that was open, get the money there because he knew he wasn't getting it here. And then it's late November, early December, and you're the screwed one. Kraft went out ahead of this and was kind of like, Franklin, you're the screwed one. I'm doing this to you because I want to be the one that's prepared. I'm not going to let you be the one that's prepared, and me and this program are screwed come December. You go do, I'm going to blindside you before you blindside me, is pretty much what I think happened here. Because they knew their relationship was done. And if this season continued, especially with the Aller injury, because, you go from, okay, they're 3-3, you could maybe find a way to win 5 more games if Drew Aller's still your quarterback of this team. And, I don't know, what would that be? 8-4. This way in the year, actually 4 more wins. So you could have been 7-5 and just be like, oh, all right, we'll blame it on whatever. It wasn't fun, but we'll come back next year. This is just so big of a disaster the way it was headed that, that wasn't going to happen. So yeah, I think Kraft wanted to get ahead of it and wanted to make sure they were the one making the phone calls and not he was the one making the phone calls. You know, him calling other schools. He wants to be the one calling other coaches now. And, you know, sucks for Franklin. Sucks that it ended that way after 12 years, but it was the right thing to do if you're worried about the future of the program. Because I think if you let him finish out the year, I think you end up more nuked as a program than you currently are.
I agree. And that's exactly what I was saying. I mean, I think, yeah, he would have quit. His stock would have still been down. And now I think, you know, we'll see. He is obliged to look for another job after this year. And there's enough that are going to be there, right? Whether it's likely UNC or Florida or Arkansas or what else did we talk about? And God, there's going to be any number of jobs that are open.
Right.
We'll get one first. And I think that, you know, he gets a fresh start and he can blame it on X, Y, and Z, and Penn State can blame the failures on X, Y, and Z and why they fired him. And you know, this is probably a more amicable way to go than if he went out at the end of the year and found another job, right? So,
because roster retention becomes a bigger problem, I think. Like you kind of mentioned, and I'll bring that point up now, but Terry Smith has the opportunity now as the interim head coach to play the young guys. Like, no offense to Trevor Pena, Hudson, Ross, you know, guys like that. I don't have a use for you anymore because I'm not winning the Natty and you're not here next year. Yeah. So Kobe Howard and Tyseer Denmark should be starting. Make them happy. Khalil Dinkins has been a great Penn State player. I got to make Luke Reynolds and Andrew Rappelé happy. Katron Allen still, in my opinion, deserves to be the number one running back. He deserves to go for the program rushing record. Nick Singleton, the way he's played, is just not going to get there. So I think Katron's still like RB1 to me. But is Singleton RB2 to me anymore? Or should I be trying to keep one of the, or at least one of these 4 or 5 stars sitting behind them happy? And I think, you know, that's a lot for an interim coach to juggle. But if there's someone that could do it, I think it's Terry Smith, because he's been here the entirety of Franklin's tenure. He is Penn State's top recruiter, so he has a relationship with most of these guys, regardless of what position they play. He's already been the associate head coach, so he has say on both sides of the ball already. I'm assuming he sits in on a lot of meetings, regardless of the position group. So he's the guy to do this. I also think he's the guy that's not afraid to piss off a player. Like, we now know that AJ Harris got benched in the Northwestern game. Yeah. And if he's going to do that to someone who is was a high profile recruit, was a high profile transfer, I don't know the exact number, but I'm assuming he's, paid out quite nicely considering his stature. And he benched him against Northwestern at home in homecoming. If he's not afraid to do that, I don't think he'll be afraid to have uncomfortable conversations with these older guys, especially the transfers, this week and going forward. And I think that's good, because now it does come down to how many of these guys that can return can I keep to return? Yep. Now, the flip side is you don't want them to get too attached to Terry Smith and him not be a part of the next coaching staff, because we've seen that before with some schools where the current players fall so in love with the interim coach, especially if it goes well, they win a couple games, that they want him to be the guy. And then if he's not, it makes things even worse. Sure, that's out there. That could happen. But I would hope the next coach, if he wants to be back, has Terry Smith back, because I think that will really help you with roster retention in a way that if you let Franklin take this to the end of the season and then blow it up, is just not going to happen. Yep,
I agree. For what it's worth, Katron is 500. I'm doing this math in my head. 592 yards away, I guess, from breaking the record. So he actually has to average quite a bit. Let me see. Math minus 588. Sorry, so 588 yards. But yeah, I think he deserves every opportunity that he wants. If he wants to run the damn ball every running play of the game, right? Like 20, 25 times, let him do it. He has earned that. Singleton also had earned that, but man, what a regression.
That's another thing I just can't explain. And we could talk about this because it's also part of it. They did not change the offense at all to adjust to what the personnel was.
Yeah.
And they got away with it at times last year because I think Tyler Warren was just so freaking good. They did not get away with it this year.
No.
Like Drew Aller before he got hurt was not right. Nick Singleton, I don't know what the hell that was. Not right. Offensive line, not right.
No.
Things that were supposed to be strengths were big reasons why you lost these games. And you had all offseason to figure it out because you knew who the hell was coming back in December. And you knew Kotelnicki was coming back in December. And it didn't change. It got worse. And
Yeah.
like that falls on Franklin too. Like that's what I'm saying. Like even the first 3 weeks, they looked like shit on offense. And, you know, the point I'm trying to make is anyone trying to blame the fans running him out of town for this is wrong. Anyone in the national media trying to make Pat Kraft seem like some madman who's mad about 3 weeks of football is wrong. What I'm doing is connecting the dots and showing you there's a long trail here that is leading back to how we got here. And I think a lot of people miss this. So I wanted to wait to do this because I think a lot of the podcasts that I've listened to since then have been pretty emotional. I've been pretty emotional the last 3 weeks. I think that's been pretty clear that I was done with Franklin. But I wanted to show this more of, let's talk about why this happened and not I'm sad James Franklin is gone or F James Franklin.
No, I don't think F James Franklin. I mean, look, this, I think as has been said by some of them, this has kind of run its course, right? As people say. And I agree with that. I'm not going to cry for the dude either. I mean, he's going to walk away with $50 million or whatever, right? And now he has to go work for some of that. So I don't know. Yeah, it sucks. But also, he kind of made his own bed too, right? I can't go around my job talking about how I'm going to do how I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread and then continually miss out on the best opportunities to advance the goals of my company. You can do that a couple times, but then you don't get the opportunity anymore. And maybe you don't get fired at a company, a more standard company. You don't get opportunities either. You don't get promotions. You don't get raises. You don't get all this stuff.
Yeah.
Same thing in his business, right? Like, I think that
they were just sick of him asking for stuff. I think is what this came down to. And, I kind of lined that out on the last one. It's like, you asked for this, you got it. 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 And they put you in this situation, have this great staff and roster for this season. And then you went ahead and asked for something else anyway. Like I could see how, as a boss, that would piss me off. Like if you have someone in like a manager position and they're like, I need to hire 3 more employees to get the job done. And then I need new computers to get the job done. But the outcome isn't changing. I'd be like, why should I keep giving you more? We're making the same amount, we're doing the same amount of sales or whatever as we were prior. So why should I give you more? And I think that's really what this came down to.
Yeah. And, at an executive level, which ostensibly he was kind of a CEO, like that's especially, those guys get fired, right? Like if you are in charge of everything and you do not make progress, 12 years is forever or whatever we are now, like 12 years total. But, since the promise of 2017 to advance 0, I mean, I think he got a lot of opportunities, frankly, right? And they kept giving and kept giving and kept giving, and he just stayed flat. Like the program, flat. Now, flat being a top 10, sometimes top 5, sometimes top 15, whatever program in the country in that range, but it didn't get better. And to go back again and ask, and there was some rumblings. I'm sure this is like, whatever, this is either on Twitter reading or something, but they fought after the game too or something, right? There was an argument between Kraft and James Franklin reportedly or allegedly after the game. So everybody knew that this was coming to a head, and it's done, and it's best for everybody.
Yeah. And I've seen some people bring up, it took Paterno 17 years before he won his first national championship. This is not the same sport. And I've been trying to make this clear. Like, to be given 12 years in this sport is a long time. Like, that's a lot of leeway. And yes, they were doing a lot of good things at the time, so the leeway was, acceptable for the most part. But like to act like this was just irrational and out of the blue, like Didn't Michigan State just fire their coach? Wasn't he in year 2, year 3? Like, there's schools that, and Auburn is about to fire another coach, and they don't wait more than a year and a half. I mean, it's just
which is obviously also a risk, right? Because you think that, and I think we should move on to coaching candidates. But that's what people think we're going to turn into, right? And I don't believe that it is I don't think it's a 50-50 opportunity. I don't think it's like a binary that you're either going to, you're either going to like go win a national championship and you're going to get Kurt Signetti, or you're going to turn into Michigan State, right? Like, I don't think it works.
Or Auburn, yeah.
Or Florida State, sort of, right? I think Pat Kraft is smarter than that. I do think there's a systematic way to choose a new coach that can increase your probability of success.
Yeah, and we'll get on the coaching thing, but one thing I also kind of did not bring up, some other factors why this is a good time to do this. One, you're doing this changeover to Adidas next year. You're undergoing a rebranding anyway, and they're supposed to be giving you money. Two, you have this roster overturn that I spoke about. You have a lot of money opening up on the NIL front because you're not paying these guys anymore. So you could bring in a new roster if you needed. And 3, next year's schedule is not that bad. It's a soft landing for a new head coach. He can easily get to 8-9 wins and everyone's happy. So I forgot to bring those in earlier, but those are other factors why I think this was done.
Yep.
All right, so let's get into this. The coaching thing.
Pick 3. You pick 3, I'll pick 3, and we'll talk about them.
Shit. Okay. People roasted my hungover list I made Sunday morning. I was not in the headspace to really do that. But so Drinkwitz at Missouri interests me because he could bring in Prabula and Zollers with him. I think he's a good coach, though. I think he's done a lot of good things at Missouri. That has always been a middle of the pack SEC team, and he's at least gotten them ranked. I like him. I don't think you're getting Kurt Signetti.
Nope.
If I can't get him, could I get his offensive coordinator, Mike Shanahan? Not that Mike Shanahan, because apparently a lot of people are asking me why I wanted a 73-year-old. I don't know if he's ready to be a head coach. He's never been a head coach before, but like shit, Dan Lanning was never a head coach before either. So I don't know how much I care about that. If I'm getting kind of the younger version of Signetti, I'll take it. But I probably want to go with another head coach. Like Lane. Like I want Lane. I don't think you're gonna get Lane Kiffin, but
okay, but
I think he'd work. I think he'd work.
All right, so you get you have kind of an established and probably gettable up and comer in Drinkwitz.
Yeah.
You have a kind of a wild card in Shanahan, and then you have like a out of reach guy with Kiffin. I think those are okay. So those are good categories, right? And for what it's worth, I like Drinkwitz. I think he would be he's probably one of my top 2 or 3 that I would love to have just because of what you said. I mean, he turned Missouri into a fairly middle of the pack or even lower SEC team to a contender at least, right? Like last
week. Them losing by a score to Alabama is impressive.
Yeah, right. On the coordinator front, yeah. So here's my thing. And I guess I don't know Drinkwitz's whole history, but I think you need somebody who has either done it before, or I really like the guys that have worked for the greats. Like, so if you've worked for Urban Meyer or you've worked for Saban, or you come from those trees that kind of replicate their systems with respect to execution and preparation and things, because I think without that, it becomes a real wild card. So, okay, so let's see. You had Kiffin. I like Kiffin.
I know.
I'm gonna say I hate this. I'm gonna say I'll say Urban Meyer as like the long shot kind of whatever, right? And
yeah, but this is put into 3 categories really. You have your long shots that you start with, then you have like that not safe, but like the category you think realistically you're picking from, which I think like Drinkowitz is in, and then you have if we have to go outside the box and we'll start talking coordinators and stuff. So like, so it's right.
Outside the box coordinator. I like Hartline better.
Yeah.
Just because he's been, and my God, if we can get, 60% of the wide receivers that he was able to pull at Ohio State, we're a completely different team. Plus, he's been in the system since Urban Meyer, right? I think there's a lot of that kind of institutional knowledge built up. And then my safe guy, I mean, I don't mind Matt Rule, to be honest. I know there's a lot of hate there, but I think he comes with a shit ton of money and support from the paternal people, which is a good thing. But if not him, Dan Mullen, I kind of like too. I think he's had a few years off. And our friend, Mr. Mafia, is a fan of Dan Mullen in this regard as well. But, he's back at UNLV now and he's doing useful stuff. He kind of fell off a little bit at Florida, but, he was a successful SEC coach in multiple stops. And has demonstrated a good ability. So I think, and he's, he went to Ursinus or whatever. So that has something to do with Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So like the Rule thing is interesting because I don't think he's a better coach than Franklin, really. I think they're pretty similar. I'd give Franklin an advantage in recruiting. But as you kind of mentioned, there is no one else out there that would unite the fan base and get the boosters riled back up the same way Rule would. Because, he's a Penn State guy, so everyone who is a Penn State fan or alum is going to associate with him, is going to, feel a relation to him. And he obviously, played for Paterno, and that brings the old kind of boomer boosters that Franklin could not get back into the equation.
Yep.
So, while I don't think he's the best on-field option, what he could do to make the school even more of a financial powerhouse, cannot be understated, because I think it is a reason why, outside the fact him and Kraft go way back, I think it's why Kraft is considering him, because he sees the opportunity for, maybe he's not the greatest coach, but hell, I could put better players out there and I can keep the coordinator and staff level that we've had. I could keep it there. So I think there's something to be said for that, but he's not who I want, I guess. Is the best way to
and everybody's got different. So I forgot Manny too. I think Manny would be great. I guess I'd put him over Dan Mullen. I've heard like 1,000 names rattled off in the last 3 weeks. So they all kind of get blended together, and I did no preparation for this.
Yeah, neither did I really. But I don't know. There's a lot, like Golish down at
South
UCF
Florida
or USF, one of the two. USF. Oh my gosh, he's the coach at one of those weird Texas schools, North Texas or something like that. He's a Leach guy. Used to coach Patrick Mahomes, coached Cam Ward, Mateer. He's the head coach down at one of those Texas schools now, but he was a Leach guy.
The UNT coach is Danielle Robinson. I don't know. No. Okay. So what are the other weird Texas schools?
God, I don't know. Texas State, North Texas.
Texas State. Let's see. Well, that's UNT is North Texas. Texas State coach. Texas State is actually pretty decent. Oh, geez.
I don't know. It's dead on me right now. Like I know about him, but I forgot his name. I read like his whole...
Ken is apparently the Texas State.
No, it's not.
There's a bunch of Texas schools that are good. He makes $800,000. So
it'll come to me eventually.
But like, oh my God, people talk about Elko and like Marcus Freeman, and I've seen Brian Kelly's name thrown around and stuff. I think Penn State's a good program, but A&M is like got a real thing going on right now, and I can't imagine Elko leaving there.
Yeah, I think he kind of, there's some reports that he's out of it. So I have to bring this up because it's really funny timing. But 2 minutes ago, Tony Rojas tweets with 2 smiling emojis and "Let's make it happen." And it is a post saying Manny Diaz should be the Penn State head coach.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's been a lot of conversation from the players that somehow we see talking about how motivational he was and how, they love that dude. And, he had his issues when he was towards the tail end of his career in Miami, winning games and stuff, but he's got Duke going again. And, he brings a quarterback with him. So that's the thing about Rule, Drinkwitz, and Manny. They bring decent quarterbacks with them straight away, right? And I think that coach quarterback combo is an important aspect to look at this going forward. Say what you want about Reala or whatever, but I don't know. He's better than what we have right now on the roster with Drew's injury.
Yeah, so this can be interesting to keep an eye on that too, the quarterback situation this season with Grunkmeyer. That's the other thing. Like, first snap of the game for the freaking kid, it's a 4th down. Hey, run right in this linebacker for me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's okay. So look, we're getting long in time, and people.
I know. I wanted,
but the other thing about, like, I'm dying to see. I was not gonna watch this game this weekend because I don't know. I don't have Peacock, and why do I have to pay to watch a football game? But I want to see the play calling, and I want to see who plays, and I want to see all these things now. And I am going to get a 1-month subscription to Peacock just for this, because I want to see, like, that 4th down play was terrible. And so many of the play calls were terrible until like 4 minutes to go in the Oregon game or whatever. And there's a lot of talk about Franklin meddling in the play calling and whatever. And by God, we're going to find out in 3 days.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. There's a lot we're going to find out. And if they look good, and I'm not saying they're going to win a lot of games because they have a lot of tough games left, but if they look good, I think, Kraft will be vindicated in what he did.
Yeah.
And then, we'll see who the new coaches. But we are not going to get into some Iowa preview. I just really don't care enough right now. We'll
tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing about. Hold on 1 sec.
All right.
Well, when the Iowa line opened, Penn State -3.5. If I lived in a state where I could bet, I would have mortgaged my house on Iowa to beat Penn State. I would have taken the Iowa money line. I think it was like +126 or something. I would have made so much money. But after Terry Smith talked, after kind of the changes, I don't know, man. I think now it's swung to Iowa -3.5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a lot more interested in it now, and I feel like I mean, I wouldn't bet against Penn State now, just because there is a motivation factor and there's a pride factor that comes with it that if Franklin was still here, there's no way in hell they would have had.
Yeah, no, definitely. We'll probably come back and talk the Ohio State game in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we should,
but we will. But yeah, that's gonna be that. One last thing.
Yeah.
Anyone tweeting eyeball emojis or anything right now? They just want you to like their tweet. They don't know shit. Let's just put that out there. This is not getting resolved this week. Let's just make that clear.
This is going to be the longest 6-8 weeks. So I also rebought my premium membership to 24/7, and that was a waste too. Like, because again, I should have waited like a month or 6 weeks for this, because it's just constant. And there's like 4 guys on there that there's 4 guys on there that have anything to say, and they either post these weird cryptic messages or they're all over the place. So like, yeah, you're not going to know anything for a while. This is time to practice patience and delayed gratification. So,
yes. All right. Well, it was a long one. It was an interesting.
It was awesome, though. By God, we have excitement again. I care about this stuff again.
Yeah, that's the biggest shocker, I guess. Tyler even cared a little bit.
I know. And I don't know, if we beat Oregon, it would have been kind of the same revitalization, but they didn't. And how does it go with who the Dennis Green thing? He was who we thought he was.
They were who we thought they were. Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough of this.
All right. Thank you. Bye.